Okay, it's 6 o'clock and we are back. So we just had a mini trial there before. So we're just waiting for KJay to come in and join us. But thank you all for joining when you do come on. So who we got out there as well. So let me know who you are, where you're from. It's Florence here. Just waiting for KJay and then we should start going. Oh, hey. Hey, Lily. Thank you for coming back. That's really good. So I guess while we're waiting for KJay, I just really wanted to say hello to everyone out there, everyone that's still, all of our essential workers that are still there on site. Hello from us, hello from IWIMRA. We're all checking in, seeing how you're going. This is just a real casual kind of social catch up with everyone. Something a little bit different from what we're used to, I suppose. So I just really want to check in with everyone, see how you're going. And just to have a bit of a yarn as well. So, hey, Hanaya, nice to see you again. Thank you. Yeah, so the app that I'm using as well, it's called StreamYard. So anyone who's keen to have a go with live streaming now that we're all kind of grounded at home, it's called StreamYard. So it's pretty easy to use as well. I guess the minor problems there, but it's not too bad. So we'll see when KJay comes on. I will just add her to the stream. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Which races? How are you?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good.
All right.
What's that hat you got on there?
Oh, I don't have the IWIMRA one.
Oh, yeah, true. No, thank you for joining. You're right. I'll let you get set up. You tell me when. We're good. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, like I was saying before, thank you all for joining us. It's really just a bit of a catch up to see how everyone's going out there. Thank you all for following us, following the page and being part of our community. We're grateful that you're always here and supporting us. And of course, we're doing this for us mob, our community and everyone that's on site. So, so KJay, how are you? Like, how have you been? How have things been on your end?
Yeah, good. Obviously, there's been some changes. I'm sure every single person on here has been affected by COVID-19. So it's really just about understanding this is the new norm, especially at home. With isolation, it's definitely challenging. But I think what's really important, what I found myself personally, is important to be keeping my mind active and my body active because you're always at home when you are home. And it's easy to kind of sit in front of the TV, so making a conscious effort to be a bit active at home and do some workouts and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Good tip, workouts. And you've been doing some online workouts as well?
Yes. I live in a town, so my legs are fried. So when I have to go upstairs to where the bedrooms are, it's not pretty. But it's been good. It's been like it's almost like my mind gets a blank slate and I can refresh and reset again. So it's good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's good. And I think really just reaching out to everyone there as well to see how they're going at home. I know we've had a lot of changes come in and we actually don't know how long it's going to be around for. So it's kind of good that we're really trying to kind of walk along with everyone to say, just see how you're going and all of that as well. So you heard from your friends, I suppose, in the industry, like how things going with them?
Yeah, I think from what I understand, I've got quite a few friends with different companies, and they're all following all the health regulations. So in terms of the actual operating, that side of things hasn't changed. It's more around getting to and from work, what that social distancing looks like, pre-starts, hot seats if they've canned hot seats most companies have, and just their own mindfulness around personal hygiene and what that actually looks like in their operating space.
Yep. And do you think we're communicating enough as well out there, like especially because I know like with communities and there's been a lot of stuff on social media, like stuff in language as well. So a lot of, wash your hands for this long or and all of that. Do you think that's like, what has been your impression of it as well?
I think we're probably, in this day and age with social media the way it is, I think we are in a place of information overload. So
Yeah.
it's very easy to spend time scrolling through social media and you see the same message, but it can be delivered 50 different ways. And each time it's re-delivered, there's a different slant on it. So, you know, it might be at the start, 20 seconds with soap and water. That's what your hand washing routine should be. By the time, you know, then you see someone reposting something and it's some crazy thing if you've got to, you know, do the splits while you're washing your hands and stuff like that. So really important to keep it simple, and don't actively go out there and read every single thing in relation to coronavirus, because, you know, my social media feed is completely clogged with it, and it can become very overwhelming. So it's important just to take the snippets that are important, and from reputable companies, businesses, health organizations, stick with that information, because, you know, that's the gospel.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. And I think like putting it out there, and that was really important to us, just to create this space to see how everyone's going, with understanding, you know, what coronavirus is and what our, you know, what our guidelines are around as well. And just, I think like a lot of the things that I've heard with, I guess, like my family and communities and that as well, like, you know, how do we start to stick together even more? Like, how do we start to use social media to keep in contact with everyone, you know, whether if it's FaceTime every weekend or, you know, I know Zooms, but it's hard to download Zoom and all that as well. It's just...
It's not hard to download Zoom for. It's quite simple. But, yeah, it's interesting. In our household, we've got a newborn baby who's 5 or 6 weeks old this week. So the challenge has really been, you know, we've brought this beautiful baby into the world, but we really can't share her properly with everyone. So, you know, we post a lot of pictures and videos, but we've now, because she's a little bit more alert, we're doing FaceTime calls to the aunties and everyone in the extended family, just to be able to kind of connect a little bit more, versus whenever coronavirus is over or these restrictions are reduced, we can actually start to visit people properly. But it's just a way that you can connect. And FaceTime, it doesn't, you know, like, people get a bit shamed, but it's really a great way to still connect and be present with each other. It doesn't matter where you are. You know, it can take 5 minutes. And I made a call this afternoon to my auntie down the Gold Coast, and she just loved it. It was the best 5 minutes. It made her day. So yeah, it's important to do that stuff. And don't forget, if you're a Telstra customer, and you need more data, you can actually contact Telstra and you can get more data, because at the moment with coronavirus, they are promoting extra additional data at no cost. So if you're postpaid, you can get quite a few extra gig, and if you're prepaid, you can get an extra 10 gig. So if you don't know where that is, go to the Telstra website and have a look and you'll find it.
Yeah, okay. And that's available to everyone that's on Telstra prepaid plan.
Correct.
Everyone. And the bush, everywhere.
Everywhere, yep. So if you use the Telstra 24/7 app, you can actually apply for it there, and I did it. Took maybe a day or two, and then actually the data landed on my account. So very good to do, especially for people FaceTime.
We're going to be watching this and joining us. Okay, cool.
Is anyone talking to us yet?
Yeah, no, I'm talking to you. That's...
Oh yeah, chat.
No, thank you. We do have a question on there. So thank you, Law Spirit Win. Can I ask a question? Should it be physical distance instead of social distancing, as I think we should be socially connecting more and physically distancing more for the moment? I think it frees up the mind to use social more freely when it comes up with creative solutions for social media. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's some really big, some of those words are just like tag words now, like social distancing. I think we need to go, you know, take a step back and really rely on our common sense as well. So I know that there is the 1.5 meters, but you know, that doesn't mean that we need to be completely separated from people. There's a lot of ways that we can use our social media to connect. And, you know, you look at all of the gyms, etc. I'll just go back. I just had it on the other one. You look at all the gyms and stuff like that are offering like Zoom exercise classes now. So there's a lot of different ways you can connect. But I think we all need to be adults and play a part in that. So I still see when I go to the shops, to Coles or Woolies, that people aren't really some people are really mindful and like keeping their distance, but others seem a little bit blasé, like, whether they just don't understand or they're just, not privy to what's actually going on. Because some people don't get on social media, they don't really watch the news because they're not into that, and that's okay. But yeah, I think there is a time and place for the social distancing and how we can make it a bit more creative, definitely.
Yeah. And I think that point there was so right as well. It's just around the language really, because that starts to get ingrained and is being used very much more frequently. So when we're talking about social distancing, it's that shouldn't be, the case really. But physical distancing, yes, but still keeping that social cohesion between us as people and family and friends. I think that's very correct there as well. So something to be mindful of. And then also like the language around like essential worker and non-essential worker. Like I think that as well will start after a time, say if this goes for 12 months or whatever, that would be interesting to see then how we start to see ourselves as, being valuable to the society and giving towards something as well.
Yeah, agree. We're all essential.
We're all essential, definitely. No, but no, it is pretty good to be on here with you as always and having a yarn. Like you were saying before, you got a newborn bub there as well. So maybe we could, talk a little bit like that if you'd like about that. Otherwise, we can yarn about what we're doing as well on our side. Just really start to unpack and flesh out things here and just starting to create this safe space for people to start to log on and join us eventually. So what's been happening in your world as well?
Well, so, just finding our feet as new parents, it's all got lots and lots of nieces and nephews, but when you have, your own bubba, and finding your feet and working out as they get a little bit older that we're starting to see her personality come through, and it's a steep learning curve. You can read all the books in the world and you can Google everything, but it's not till your baby's here and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. So it's been great. Lots and lots of great people in our lives who've been sharing their knowledge. One of the things I didn't realize is the minute you have a baby, then a lot of other people want to just give you their advice. And it's the same as if you go into an industry. Sometimes people may not agree with the industry that you're working in, but a lot of the time that they'll give you advice. It's really important, I think, for your own sanity and your own well-being that you can accept that advice and you just compartmentalize it and put it to the side. Is that something that I want to put in my toolbox, that bit of advice that I got? Yes, okay, keep it. If not, no, thank you very much. Appreciate you sharing that, and let it go to the side. So that's a really key lesson that myself and Poppy have learned the last 6 years.
Yeah, and I guess like going back to sight as well and just being mindful. Like at any one point you can contract, any illness really. So how's that really heightened your awareness and bringing that home as well?
I think I have had a good think about it. I think what's important to remember is that the narrative around coronavirus out on site across the industry is very different. It's at front of mind. Everyone is talking about it. There's procedures, policies put in place for it to mitigate those risks, etc. So, I think about when I go down to Woolies and I'm walking around doing my groceries, am I confident that the people that I'm interacting with at a distance have that same heightened awareness around COVID-19 as they would have when we're at site, when pre-starts talk about it, procedures have changed, etc. People are, there's people washing hands at some sites. So, it's yes, there is some risks, but the flip side is I think, there's more education and awareness within the mining industry than there may be in the public arena.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really agree there as well. And not, and I guess it's funny for me not to say that I'm biased, but of course it's something that I'm very aware of and deal with, or I'm aware of every day, is that I feel that we have been very forward as an industry itself to be proactive to do things. Yeah. And I think now it'd be great to really reach out to these community groups that are kind of, I guess, identifying the gaps that they have to see how we can all work together to move forward as well. Yep. So we do have a question as well. So we have Hanea, or Janea. After our Latin America trip, her name is now Hanea. So how are you both keeping a routine with not being physical on site? How are you both keeping a routine with not being physical on site?
So I guess for me, when I work from home, it's the same procedure. I have times that I wake up, I give myself a dedicated lunchtime. So those types of things I think are really important when you are working from home, to still keep that routine active. Because if I just wake up whenever I want and come and sit in front of in the office whenever I want, then there's no sense of importance around the work that I'm doing. Whereas it should be just as important, regardless if I'm on site or if I'm working from home. So I think routine's important, and making sure that you're connecting with the rest of your team. So having lots and lots of WebEx and meetings, nothing stops. It's just the way in which we connect is slightly different.
Yeah, and I guess like going back to your operator days, and much for me as well. It's like, how do you how is it actually practically possible? Because we know that if I was living in community and or if I didn't have access to WebEx, or my phone's prepaid and I don't even know how to download stuff. Like, I still don't even know how to download stuff on my phone. I'm very this.
But so, this is the power of social media, is that if every social media platform you can connect. Instagram, you can go on Instagram Live. Facebook, you can go on Facebook Live. There's lots of different ways you can connect. It's just about raising that awareness and letting people know. These apps are simple. You can download an app to play pokies. You can download an app to connect with Zoom.
Yeah, but I think as well, it's like work is now intruding into your private life. This is like a problem, not a problem, but it's like a mindset as well. It's like, I guess, when you're operating on site, you have that like, okay, this is my work time. I do my 12 hours, I go home and that's it. Like, I don't have to answer no phone calls from work or nothing like that. So I think that's going to be a bit of a shift as well, where people are at home now, or grounded more, or where we need to start communicating differently from now on. I think it's that like emerging relationship that you have with work, and if you're okay with that.
Yep. And I think that's where that routine and rhythms comes into it. Set up your area, set up your office. You're not sitting in front of Netflix doing your work emails. Your times are X and Y that you'll start work and finish work. If it's outside that time, take the call if it's important. But that's part of, I guess, being an adult and a leader, is understanding, okay, does this call, should I take this call if it's 8 o'clock at night, but it is my boss? Yes, I should. So just, working out what's important and understanding that.
I'm just laughing so much because Bubba's just born, but when she starts running around, you're like, no, I've got these strict routines. This is what I'm going to do. I just can't wait to just be like, hey, so I'm doing that routine. How's that going?
Can you see the bags under my eyes? No, well, that's the thing. We are trying to get Bub into a routine so that when I do end up going back to site, it's it's important that my partner is not left in the lurch, and Bub's a good Bub that slept and has good sleep is a happy Bub. That's what everyone keeps telling us, so we're going with it. Is there more questions?
Good. Yeah, there is. I just wanted you to and then I could just keep on talking there. So, just a couple of comments there as well. Thank you very much. They say babies don't come with instructions, and there are no to the Mums are naturally good at mumming. Mums are naturally good at mumming. So a great thing about working in a mine is that you get to take a lot of learning home to your family.
Yeah. And the other thing which is one of the biggest bonuses of working in a mine site is that, for myself personally, I'm surrounded by so many different people that are different to me. So people when you talk about the real world, people I wouldn't connect with just through my own beliefs and all that kind of stuff, but I work alongside them so I can really understand and get to know a really wide variety of people from all different backgrounds, and understand how their strengths can benefit and vice versa. So I think that's really important to understand that, but mining's great.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And just that really diverse friendship group as well. And what just happened? Did you?
Oh, my friend just went off. Sorry. It's okay.
I was like, oh no.
You're supposed to just keep talking and be real cool. Right?
Oh, sorry. That was it. Okay, cool. No, but you're right. And I suppose really having that diverse background, and especially when you have contractors in that online, is not online, but with you as well, they just bring a totally different element to the group.
Yeah, and I think for myself, you keep reading, but for myself, as a female, Indigenous, gay person who's just gone through IVF and had a baby, all of those things, it's great conversation starting points, because there's a lot of people who just don't have gay people in their life, or they don't have Indigenous people in their life, and that's completely fine, because that's a great opportunity to connect and, you know, build some relationships, which I think is really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess reflecting on that as well, like how have you, I was going to quickly read Brian's thank you very much, brother. I always support everything that he does. Walkabout Brava had a hello to everyone in that network and love to you all. So just this comment there, love your work, my sisters. Positive repetition is the key to success, which is having a positive routine mapped out daily or weekly to achieve. Confidence is the door to opportunity, which is having the ability to back your gut feeling and listen to your inner self.
Yeah, and that's a really big one, that chronic ease, is listening to your guts. What does your guts tell you? Does something not feel right? It's the same with safety out at work. If something doesn't feel right, speak up and talk to someone about it. Yeah,
definitely. Just continues on to say action is the process for positive results, which is actually doing what you're set out to do and making sure you complete the task to the best of your ability. And I think, and thank you, brother, so much for that comment. And what that comes down to is, you know, that real confidence piece as well, and that empowerment piece, and it's something that I'm truly passionate about, and something that I feel that is such a growth area and an opportunity there as well for us all to really shift our mindset and our ability as well. But I think, you know, without having that confidence in yourself to do the best that you can, that's what's been a real, I guess, a pivot point there as well for people to, that it makes a difference between your performance and your confidence in yourself. So correct. What have you found there as well, like in terms of a leader as well, like how have you kind of, in your lived experience, you know, over your leadership journey, like what have you really found? Leadership.
Sorry, I heard the baby screaming.
What has made you, or what has been like the tools that you have in terms of getting where you are? Because the position that you're in now, like you said, a gay woman, Indigenous woman, you're like the niche of the niche of the niche. So some points out there on how you've kind of gotten there.
I think that a lot of you know, Indigenous women in our communities are born leaders. So what's really important is to understand that, you know, you don't need to have been in any industry for 50 years to be a good leader. So understanding that for me, my passion always has been leadership. What can I do about it? Seeking feedback from my managers, 1 up, 2 up, etc. Asking the questions, you know, putting my hand up and putting myself forward, backing myself that I could actually have a go at different things to prove this is what my capabilities were. So, and always being, you know, a good leader should be able to go, you know what, didn't work great. What we just did wasn't good, but let's reflect on it and work out what we did wrong so we can do it better next time. Because you're never, ever going to slam dunk everything. So you know, you're going to take those times when you do fail and go, right, well, why? What was the why? And then unpack it. Don't just go, oh, let's just forget about that. Unpack it and work out where we went wrong and how we can change that for the next time.
Definitely. And I think that's definitely easy enough to say, but then I think the reality, like a lot of people don't have the confidence to speak to their leaders, like that shame factor at work, or, you know, in general, like even myself as well, like I'm scared as hell of failing, and it's really hard to step up. Like, you know, even when we were setting up this call here, I was just like, oh my God, no, you do it. No, you do it.
Yeah, you did try but I said no. But I know it is scary. And I think your one-on-ones and your relationship with your leader is really important to be able to have those open, honest conversations. Obviously, part of that is being vulnerable yourself, because you open yourself up and you say, well, this is the real me. This is what I want to do. And it's scary. It's a scary concept to say, hey, you know what? I want your job to your boss. But that's where we should be at, because if we believe in ourselves, we can do it. And I think this, you know, we have such a large representation within the mining industry. Be great to see more women in those leadership roles, and I think it's only a matter of time. But it all comes down to those initial conversations in your one-on-ones and what your development plan is. Don't think, oh, I'll just wait for it to happen. Think, okay, what do I need to do to get to that next step? If you want to operate forever, that's fine. That's completely fine. But if you do want to take that next step, it's about thinking, okay, what can I do? What do I need to do? You know, in those one-on-ones, and having the conversation to your one-up manager as well.
Yeah. And I think what's really important as well is like seeking professional development opportunity as well, whether it be internal of the company and also external as well. Because I know that what we do with IWIMRA is that we're really trying to reach out there to discover like any opportunities that there are that, you know, that people can actually access and that are practical. Because I know, you know, working 12-hour shifts and coming home and then flying home or driving home to your house, and then you've got, you know, your children, or you've got food to cook, or you've got a partner, or whichever. Like there's a lot of things outside of work that, and that's your time as well, right? So it's like, I work hard, I come to work, all that and all of that. Why should I then have to go home and then, well, I guess not why, I have to reframe it, because obviously it's a decision that you make as an adult to choose to progress. But yeah, and I think it's really like figuring out what actually works within the workplace, or what works, and that's complementary. So then you'll kind of focus on your work time and your professional development in the one space, and then having work-life balance on the other end to say, well, now I can go home to my family and concentrate on that relationship and that kind of environment as well.
Yeah, and those honest conversations are very hard. It's really difficult at times. You don't want to, you know, talk to your leader and say, look, this is what's happening at home. I'm not 100%, I'm not doing that great. But I think that's, you know, one of the most powerful things you can do is open up and say, hey, this is what's happening, versus something happening down the track and an incident happens, and then you say to your boss, yeah, well, I wasn't speaking to my husband. We were fighting. It's a good example to say, hey, look, things aren't great at home. Can I do this job, this swing, if that's okay? And just be open about it. Your boss should never, ever turn around and go, well, no, just do what I tell you to do. But there are bosses out there who do that. But I think that open, and that's all steps towards building that relationship with your leader.
Yeah, it's about that confidence as well with yourself. Like I'm so for, you know, confidence and empowerment, because then at least then you're focusing, you know, you can just do what you need to do, which is good. So just a couple of points here as well. Lily Stanton got her hat. Thank you very much for representing.
I'm glad you got a hat.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the hats? I'll be back in a second. No, I know, but the concept of the hat, because obviously this is your, like, KJ's a hat person. I'm not a hat person.
I'm not bald under this.
I have hat. I'll be back in a minute.
I just think it'd be great to see, and you know, our hats out there. I'm just representing that people like in our industry like to wear hats, which is good. So we might as well get some hats out there and raise the awareness. It can be a good conversation starter when people go, what is that? What is a IWIMRA? What does that all mean? And it's a great way to go, well, it's actually this, and talk the talk, which is good. So the more people out there, the better. We've got lots of deadly brothers and sisters out there, and we'd love to see them all in hats eventually one day. And my co-host has disappeared, so what else have we got with hats?
You know what? You know, the first thing about that learning and, you know, just having a go, you really get to figure out how you do it best. So I just actually had to put my charger on, or else it would have been a proper blackout, and then I don't know what would have happened. But so I'm just mindful of the time there. Look, I'm happy to chat a little bit more, and I think this is such a great space to really start to unpack a lot of things. Obviously, because we yarn all the time as well. Going back to the hats as well, and I think you know, the whole concept behind hat and merchandise and all of that, it's about like, how do we build a community, and how do we start to talk to each other as well, on site, across site as well, because I think there's a lot of problems that are being solved, but we're just, you know, needing to share that information. And I think it's exciting, like now that we start to open up these platforms and really want to get some followers on board as well. You know, just to see how they are and like what they're doing in their space.
Can I just go back to that leadership conversation we just had? It's really important as well to realize that a lot of skills, like all the skills that you bring to a mining role, are relevant. So, you know, you might have spent 20 years at your PCYC running it. That's organization skills. That's understanding priorities. That's understanding time management. So those are all skills outside of mining that you can bring, and they're transferable. So really important when you're thinking about, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? Think about the jobs that you've done in the past and what some of those skills would look like, because that's part of that conversation that you're having with your leader around, hey, I'd really like to start to work towards being a step up, for instance. This is what I've done in the past. A lot of the time your leader may not even know what your employment history is. So it's really good to be able to talk them through that. Sorry, that was just one side point.
No, that was really good. And thank you for that. And you know, always pushing support professional development as well. Not everyone wants to be a step up or be a mine manager. What if someone wants to be an engineer, you know, to really work that STEM space? Because, you know, I think we really need to reflect that STEM and science and all of that, like that's part of our culture, that's part of our history. Like, we have amazing, you know, things that we've built in the past and, you know, all of that. Just really kind of emulating that and valuing, all, you know, our history to say, well, we can do STEM. How do we start to step into that?
Yeah, that's right. And there is so many opportunities. I think a key thing that we need to do as the IWIMRA family is to send that message out there. These are opportunities, because a lot of people don't know what different opportunities there are, what different paths. Where do you even start if someone's interested in that? You know, a lot of people can go, well, I don't know who to talk to. Where do I even start? I don't want to call up uni and talk to them because I'm ashamed. So, you know, by showing, and there might be, you know, a WebEx where people are talking about how they got into STEM and stuff like that. So that's part of our responsibility to our communities. We will ensure that we share that information so people can find out about it. And then if you're interested, you've got a path to look at.
Absolutely. And I think, and that's so exciting as well, we have had some really great conversations at the back end as well. So if you know family that are interested in working in the STEM space or progressing into the STEM space, really reach out to us, because we do have a lot of things that are being delivered. So it's just a work in progress. Again, you know, it's a new space that we're doing. A lot of new conversations. And again, like for myself as well, being there and talking to people, that's a lot of that confidence, asking questions and, you know, talking proper English as well, because, you know, it's that whole perception that, like, oh my God, like there's no other black fellas here with us. So it's about like, how do we start to, you know, create this safe space, because there's a lot of good people out there in industry that want us to succeed and really want to create a pathway and a framework that's, you know, culturally safe, that can really help us succeed. Because now, especially with COVID as well, you know, there's so many gaps that we've identified as an industry. It's like, okay, well, how do we start to fix this? But we now need to do it together. So really, really looking forward to being part of this.
Yeah, agree.
Definitely. Ditto.
Questions?
Yeah, we do. Christina Coleman said, well said, KJay, for one of your
Christina
things
Coleman.
there. Christina Coleman. Again, courage plus desire equal leadership, and I absolutely agree. Thank you. Karen, own your journey. Absolutely. Agree with that. I got a question as well. A comment. So you guys are amazing, stepping up and taking the courage to create this space and being those leaders by sharing this conversation tonight. Thank you so much, Lily. She's been an amazing support. Lily. Deadly sister. Thank you.
Deadly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got supporters, family. We've got our IWIMRA family across industry, which gives me so much, you know, love and confidence to do what we need to do, because we can say that, you know, these little pain points that we have in our own industry, they're across board. So if we can really start to work together to action, because I think action is absolutely the difference between a brilliant idea and something that's just going to sit there and, oh yeah, that was a good idea, but we actually didn't even action it. So,
and there's a lot of sisters out there who want to get into the industry and don't know how. The advice that I would have is do your resume, send it to as many companies as possible. So register with all of the, you know, the labor hire companies that service mines, register with BHP, all the big ones. Just get your resume out there, because there's a lot of opportunities, and there's one at the moment around coal, so stuff like that. So if the important thing is to get your resume out there, register, and then just keep checking the job sites. Yeah.
Another thing as well that we're developing in the back end is really trying to work with key talent pools or talent, I guess like talent groups as well, because we want to work with people that are committed to actually owning that space and really supporting our people all the way through. It's not just about a number getting through the door and that's it. We really want to think about what's that end-to-end solution for our people. So it's not just, because everyone out there, you can be any, you know, Indigenous recruitment agency or have like specified job, but unless you're actually committed to that long-term success of that one candidate, then it's really just a waste of everyone's time. And then we get to deal with all these problems now that are the byproduct for this thing, you know, that has been for so long. So so men can learn a lot from our lady leaders, absolutely, because traditionally, you know, thank you for that as well. So we're traditionally a matriarchal society, so absolutely we've got to amazing, strong women leaders, but as well, we absolutely respect our men and their role that they play in the community as well. So it's a holistic community, it's a family. So thank you for that.
And a lot of my first opportunity to step into a leadership role was given to me by a male, non-Indigenous male who, had belief in me. So I can't stress enough that there's some fantastic allies out there, and it all started with the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Question. A lot of mines are on mobs' land and within communities. We are that connection, that familiar face, representation and voice within our industry on behalf of all mob. Definitely. That skill all us brothers and sisters have are so valuable in any role, from superintendent to dishwashers. Deadly.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. So, yeah, thank you for that. And I think, really unpacking the conversation, I think eventually what we'll start to do is to say, well, how are we really engaging with community and like getting those stories from those ends as well? Because I think it's really important to have that transparency and showcasing what we do actually do well, because yeah, we're both still in the industry and we do enjoy it. It's just really trying to educate as well to say, well, this is what actually is done, because, the media is crazy and there's a lot of things that are out there. It's about like, how do we actually communicate what we're doing out there? Hanea, how can everyone join the IWIMRA journey? Well, if you join our Facebook group at IWIMRA.com. No, please, if people out there and they're keen to join our IWIMRA journey, like we do a lot of things. We are a network, and we're developing into something a bit more where we can offer end-to-end solutions for businesses that want to engage with Indigenous employees or Indigenous candidates for the right reasons as well. We do a lot of travel, which COVID was a really eye-opener for us, because we were out overseas, we were in Latin America, meeting with amazing people there. So we're looking forward to having those yarns there. So good, so much love over there. So looking forward to connecting both mob here and sisters over there, New York as well. So yeah, if you'd want to be part of our journey, please message in. We do check our messages all the time. Email, join our Facebook group. We're announcing things as we're developing them. So really look forward to the end of the year and next year, when we're actually going to think that we're going to be traveling and doing things as well. So that's my comment on joining IWIMRA. But social media wise, KJay, with the merch, how are we going with that, those stories and those pictures?
Yeah, so what you should start to see on our social media is people who get their hats will start sharing their stories and pictures, and just to raise some awareness about the fantastic work that our people are doing. So if you get a hat, the expectation is you share your story, and we'll post it on the IWIMRA social media. That way we can kind of raise each other up and support each other and go, you know what, Deadly, that's good.
Yeah,
because we're very quick in Australia to be able to go, this isn't working, this is bad, something's broken, but we need to learn to support and encourage each other a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
All industries.
Yeah, definitely. And jumping on there, like, once I figure out how to get more people on here, we're going to invite people on, and just to really, have a yarn and see how you're going.
Yeah.
Just some more comments here as well. I think, too true, I think more Indigenous mining, oil and gas workers there are the most will respect our land more. Be more respectful. Our mob needs it. Charge hard. Yeah, that's true. Like, us mob on site that are working, it's not, it is definitely a controversial space, and it's something that we have to think about. And something that I always reflect on in the conversations that I have when I'm, out and about, is that, yes, there is opportunity for us to, rephrase that. When we're out there, it is tough being on country, digging up and all of that. Like, of course, because our first priority as Indigenous people is to care for country. So the most challenging for us is to be in industry, but at least if we're in industry, we can really take part in managing it best. And it's so important as well, because, if we're part of the process, if we're part of the discussions and we start to make these decisions, it's just going to be beneficial for everyone. But of course, it's to do with education and accessibility and how practical that is. So it's groups like this, it's conversations that we have with deadly Indigenous businesses out there and other Indigenous people that we can definitely do. It's just it's gonna take time. So.
I think one really important thing I always think is, I need to own my space. So be proud of my roots, and don't have a conversation about me without me. So that's really important as well. That goes for everything, my development, all that kind of stuff. So just own it and be proud.
I agree, definitely. Thank you. Okay,
More
we need more
there?
Indigenous. Huh? Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So we need more Indigenous leaders in key positions to set standards from our country and the education of our country as well. Definitely agree with that. And this is something that we're working with. And again, for me, what I've found in my experience is that there are a lot of great programs and initiatives out there that are run by companies, that are run by partner companies as well. It's that accessibility to it and that retention. So for me, it's really about how culturally safe is your workspace, because if I come to work and I get paid well, but it's not culturally safe and I feel discriminated against, then I'm going to leave, if I feel uncomfortable. So that's, I think, is a big component in retention, because when you're retained in a position, of course, then you start to have these leadership positions where then you start to grow. And again, I guess that reflects on your, you turning up to work all the time. That reflects in your participation, like how much you give to your job is the amount that you'll reflect of how much you feel valued yourself.
Yeah, one I would say is as well is it's great when we have allies in our businesses, in our companies, who talk to that unconscious bias. So especially if you're talking about step up roles or anyone looking for advancement, it's important for the leaders to unpack that and go, okay, well, my first choice was Florence, but why did I choose her? Is it because she's the deadliest person at the job, or is it because she's my sister? Well, she's probably not the deadliest, that kind of stuff. So getting leaders, good ways, getting leaders to think outside the box and not always go with their first choice, but actually, look inside themselves and go, hang on, why did I choose that person? What are some other gems? And that, when our leaders are doing that, that's when we're going to start to see more and more of the people who haven't been in mining for 50 years stepping into leadership roles and doing other things. And it's slowly happening. It is slowly happening.
So, and that's interesting as well. So I'm gonna raise a controversial point here, because it's just like a lot of women, a lot of Indigenous women are now being targeted, right, in terms of employment. So how do we ensure that, how do we deal with the conversation where people are like, oh, they're only being chosen because they're Indigenous and they're a woman, right? Where, are they the best person for the job? So I guess it's really, like you said, that unconscious bias, but what would be your advice or comment towards that?
I think it, regardless of if the role is Indigenous only or female applicants only, you need to look at what the role is and look at your skill set. Am I the right person for the job? Put in for it. I think statistically, women are about 60% more likely to not take up a job if we don't believe we hit all the criteria for a job, whereas a lot of our male counterparts will just throw the hat in the ring. So we also need to take a punt on ourselves as well. So don't be afraid if you're looking at the selection criteria and going, oh, don't have that, or I haven't done that before. Don't discount yourself. Always put yourself in there, because it doesn't hurt to go, you know what, I don't have those skills, but I'm willing to learn.
And I know that, English not being the first language for all of us, I know, for us with IWIMRA, really trying to develop some help around if there's people out there that are trying to put their resumes together, or they don't understand how to use the computer program, like what do they do? And I think, with IWIMRA, we're really trying to create that space where if you need that help, please write in, like, please send us your CVs. We can definitely help with that. We've obviously done a few, because I've done, I don't know, a million CVs, and having programs like Canva and all of that are so helpful, and they look so deadly, but it's just having access to those programs in the first place. So
isn't that the road?
I'll tell you later. It's a program. It's a program. No, but I think you're right, and like such great tips there, because it is about like punting, and not punting, but having that confidence in yourself. But firstly, what I've found is that people just don't have access to this, and when you're trying to speak English and you can't even speak English, and you having to write English, that's difficult. So yeah, as you know, I still have trouble with my English. So
it'd be really good for us to do hook up with talking through some stuff that people might talk to in interviews for people.
Yeah,
You know, just
absolutely.
the types of questions that
Yeah,
you know, things that they need to think about when they're going to interviews,
yeah,
because sometimes that part in itself can be so overwhelming when English is that second language. But to think,
yeah.
okay, well, they'll probably ask me stuff about maybe what I've done and
Mhm.
helping people to prepare that. I think that's quite valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree, because I think that's so important. And with a lot of roles now coming up, and there's such a frenzy, and with our climate and economic climate and all of that, it's just really about how do I access these jobs, and I really have that opportunity and that confidence to ring back and to see how you're going, or what's the expectations. Like what's if I put in a job, like how long should it be? Should I hear back, or what else can I do, or how do you just kind of proactively do that? Because I think, like, for me as well, I'm just sometimes I do when I was applying for jobs, and that it's just like, oh, I'll just apply, and if I get a job, and if not, I'll just go and I don't know, do whatever. And I think it's really that mindset around, no, like you're worth more, like you bring so much value to the table, like so really, like you said before, like if you've done jobs in other industries, or if you've been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and you think you don't have management skills, I think you have management skills.
You'd have to.
You have to. Yeah. So
agree.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously not saying like, you'd step into a management role straight away, but, having the confidence that what you're doing is the very first step, securing a job.
Yeah, and there's always a lot of entry-level positions around, and they are very competitive. I'm not going to lie about that. They are competitive.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's where, make sure you're getting your resume done early, so you're not like, oh, this has got to be in tomorrow and my resume is not done. Get it in, get some help to get your resume done now, so the job comes up, boom, you put it in.
Definitely. And no stress, hey? So I think it's about time management, right? So, and I can openly admit that time management, like, it goes with your personality too, because this is my argument, because I know you and I are very different people, and behind the scenes we have some very productive discussions around stuff, but yeah, we're a team, we're a family,
Yeah, we are.
Definitely. Just some more comments there as well. So key positions to set standards for our country and the education about our country. And I just really need to note that I've been heavily promoting, not by affiliation as well, but for In My Blood It Runs. I feel like that's a really important documentary. I love the journey, and I really am so moved by this, this little kid, this fella going overseas and really speaking his own truth, and holy hell, like that is leadership from the very beginning. We can learn a lot from that. Yeah. So love that story in terms of education and how that system is. So that's definitely another conversation itself. I'm reading. Flo AJ. Flo, KJ, Erin Murray is my sister from another mother. Amazing lady, like you both. Oh, good one. If anyone that that's on there that would love to jump on with us, give us a yell. We're definitely going to try and get as many people not as many people as we can, but maybe have some nights where we're yarning to each other and see how we go. Yeah. But so what other questions have been out there that you've heard, KJ, from your network or your friendship group?
None. I think a lot of questions around, the industry, how to get into the industry. And I've had a lot of conversation with people who don't want to be operators forever, but they're just unsure how to go from there to the next step. So some conversations around believing in yourself, looking at your previous skills. Okay, well, thinking about, so what opportunities are there? Where do you want to go? Do you want to keep operating? Do you want to move to different equipment? Do you want to look at more of a, an admin type role? Or, there's lots of different opportunities. And I think a lot of the time, for instance, like you said earlier, someone wants to become an engineer. Well, what do they do?
Yeah.
They've got to go to uni, but can they work part-time and study part-time? Well, they probably can. But that's all part of those conversations. Hooking them with those Indigenous education units at the different various universities is important.
Yeah, mentoring as well. So you went through a mentoring program. Was it last year? How has it helped?
Yeah, it was definitely beneficial to be able to have that a dedicated mentor who, you know, is very well respected within the company. So had lots and lots of different conversations about a lot of different things. It wasn't always work related. Sometimes it was like, obviously we were having a baby and understanding a little bit of stuff there and how I unpack that. But yeah, any chance that you can be involved in any type of, or have a mentor, I can't suggest it highly enough. It's very important, and it's been very important for my career. And I think moving forward, you know, everyone has a lot. I definitely have a couple of different mentors for different reasons. So it's great to have those key people that, you know, you can go to and have a chat about something, even if it's just to bounce an idea. Look, this is what I'm thinking. This is what's happened. This is what the plan of attack I think I'm going to take. Because every single leader is different and everyone deals with things differently.
Yeah.
So some are very softly, some are very, this is the hard and fast rules. So it's about finding what works for you, but also sanity checking yourself, just because, you know, what you sometimes will think, or the reaction that you have when you're heated, it's not always the best reaction. So same when you're having a fight, you say things when you're cranky, and then you get yourself in trouble. So sometimes it's good to kind of, if something happens and you need to make a decision, taking time out, step back a little bit, do something different, then come back and then look at it with a fresh set of eyes is good. Or even, you know, go to sleep and look at it again the next day is good too.
Yeah, definitely. But then thinking, you know, when people are on site and they're isolated, you know, accessing services that can really help you to, you know, talk things through as well.
Yeah.
I think that's such a reality, is like, you know, when you're out there and you're alone, you're physically alone, and you know, that's really
it can be very isolating. You're right. A lot of companies do have, a lot of mines have mentor programs, so peer programs, so like a peer support program. So I think they are fantastic, because there's that people can, they do some training, and then there's people within each crew who, you know, they're that peer contact person. So if, you know, things aren't great and you need to talk to someone, you can actually talk to them and they're there in person. So that's a great initiative that we're seeing more and more of.
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't just like, you don't, and I guess, you know, it's just about talking to each other as well, more than anything. It's not just, you know, you can't talk to that person because they're not a peer supporter. It's just like, no, actually you can talk to whoever. It's just about just finding that confidence to speak up as well. So we've got 8 minutes to go. So I reckon an hour, and I think they'll be good. Let me just scroll through some stuff. Christina Portman, we'll have to probably address this later, a question another time. I'll write some comments, but can we unpack how we as Strong Indigenous Network continue to support and champion both Indigenous women and men who aren't directly involved with the mining and resources industry? Love that question. And what we've seen as well with IWIMRA is that we've really grown across industry as well, not in terms of, I guess in terms of our reach and our conversation, like it's so relevant and people resonate with it. So it's really become a vehicle to say, well, okay, if you might want to come along with us as well, yeah, you're not in our industry, but, you know, we're sharing the same conversation and the same struggles. Like the best thing, like we're going to get through it together. So that's been my experience with that one. SA Mob, good one. So just a comment there as well. Very cool point about most people, regardless who they are, learn 70% on the job. I was highly qualified and did not fit for the area. Africa is one example. Absolutely, Africa, yes. Looking to do some more connections there as well. Excellent. So maybe, you know, with the last minutes that we have, just really bringing it back to current times of our industry, with community, with Indigenous people, Indigenous women and men on site. So that the COVID conversations, like how do we best move forward and really kind of manage that for the time that we are down?
Yeah, look, I think the key when you're on site is follow the guidelines, do what we need to be doing to keep ourselves safe. But also when we go back to our home life, you know, share that knowledge and the educational stuff that you do learn at work in relation to coronavirus and stuff like that, especially with your older aunties and uncles, nanas, granddads, all that kind of stuff. Share that information, because sometimes they may not be completely up to speed. So it's about, you know, that high level of education around processes and procedures, share it at home. Just let them know, hey, this is what we're doing at work because this is what they say we need to do. And the other point I'd like to make is don't be isolated. Reach out. Get on Facebook. Do FaceTimes.
Do FaceTime with us. Come, hang out.
Hang out. Just, you can do, there's lots of different apps, but there's Zoom apps. There's heaps of different ways you can connect. But, those people that are most vulnerable in all of our communities, they're the ones that we need to be taking extra special care of. So, your nana may not know how to do FaceTime, but you can talk them through it if they've got an iPhone or if they've got an Android. So take that time, connect that way, because it can make this period of time where we do feel so isolated and we're so far away from our loved ones, can make it just that little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely agree. And there's been a mad popularity of TikToks as well. So with our hats, in terms of staying connected and doing something with our apps. I know.
When did you learn what TikTok was?
I'm just saying the word because I know that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But no, what we're really trying to do with our hats and just about keeping our community connected is well, let's try to upload all these TikTok videos and all that kind of stuff. So that's to come. Obviously, I will participate. I won't be leading them because we have some technical difficulties most of the time, but we work through it, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you all for the live vid. KJ, did you have any last words?
No, just stay safe, take care of each other, and make sure you take the time to take less time. So if you're doing your jobs at work, take it steady. You don't need to rush. Take the time you need to plan it, risk assess it. Then when you execute the job, you're doing it properly.
Yeah, definitely. And staying safe, communicating as well, and just jumping on. If there's anyone that's having trouble out there in the meantime, please reach out, send us an inbox message. We've got our details there as well, so please reach out.
Yes.
Happy done. Yeah, we're here to kind of help you through this as well. So yeah, definitely.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. But anyway, so and next week as well. So we're going to jump on every Tuesday and do this. So if you have questions in the meantime, please flick them through. If you have comments as well, please do. I will see how I go with brushing my hair for next week, and hopefully you'll have your IWIMRA hat next week. Hey,
I hope so.
I think I sent him. No, thank you all. Yep. Anyone else that you'd like to jump on with us, please let us know, and yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Take care of each other and take care of yourselves. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Bye.